In this sketchbook project, we will draw a realistic shaded egg in pencil using 5 values. In the drawing, we will also identify how light falls on an object to create regular patterns of lights and darks, and you'll learn how to add dramatic lighting to a simple still life subject in your home. For this project, use a simple white or brown egg and sit it on a white cloth or piece of white paper. Put the egg in a dark room and use a desk lamp or the light from a flashlight or a phone to create a dramatic range of dark and light, but it needs to be a single light source. You'll need a full range of pencils, including 2H, HB, 2B, and 6B, as well as various erasers and either a pencil sharpener or a lead pointer. If you choose to use the lead pointer over the pencil sharpener, set the pencil on a stable surface and use a utility knife to shave away the pencil down to the lead. Then use the sandpaper lead pointer to sand down the lead to a nice sharp point. The advantage of this method is that you have more of the lead exposed so that you can get softer values and tones. Once you have the egg set up and lit, we can now start the drawing. Step 1. Use a 2H pencil and lightly sketch in the contours of the egg. Work very lightly and get the egg so that it is in correct proportions. Use an eraser as needed so that you are left with a simple contour outline of an egg. Step 2. Find the Terminator line on the egg, as well as the cast shadow, and sketch in the contours. The Terminator line is the part of the subject where it starts to turn away from the light source and back into the shadows. The term Terminator line is pretty dramatic for a drawing term, but since it's actually one of the most important ideas that you learn in beginning drawing, it's a good idea to let it stick in the back of your mind. The Terminator line is the division point on the subject where it splits between a dark side and a light side. This also is important because it's showing you some very important information about the subject, such as its shape and form. Notice how as I move the light source, the Terminator line shifts along with it. This line both shows you where the division between the dark and light is, as well as revealing the shape of the subject and the position of the cast shadow. I draw a little arrow at the top of the paper here to note the direction of the light. I then draw in the oval shape for the cast shadow of the egg. The cast shadow will be the darkest part of the drawing and is literally the light source being blocked by the physical presence of the egg. I then draw in the Terminator line to show where the form of the egg starts to turn away from the light and into the shadow. Step 3. In Step 3, I want to lightly tone in the shadow side of the egg, including the cast shadow, with a flat, all-over gray tone. I'm using a 2H pencil in order to not get too dark. This will allow us to gradually darken the shadows selectively over the next steps in the drawing. Let the shadow remain flat and cross over the egg and the cast shadow as you shade. Step 4. Start using the HB and 2B pencils to start toning in the form shadows that run along the Terminator line. The form shadows will be the darkest part of the egg and will correspond with the length of the Terminator line. Whenever you identify a Terminator line, you have also found the form shadow of the subject. While the form shadow will be the darkest shadow in the object, it is still much lighter than the cast shadow underneath the egg. Also remember, the form shadow will appear to be at its darkest right at the Terminator line where the egg bulges out towards us. It will taper off a little bit below that, still being dark, but not as intense as the Terminator line. This is reflecting light that is bouncing back up off the white surface and slightly lightening the bottom of that shadow. Step 5. Start to work on the light part of the egg. Use the 2H and HB pencils to lightly shade in the halftones, and use an eraser where necessary to establish and re-establish the highlights. The highlight should be the only part of the drawing that is the white of the paper. The halftones are the next lightest part of the drawing and should be about a medium to light gray. This allows the highlights to pop out and adds more drama to the drawing. Step 6. Use a 2B and 6B pencil to shade in the cast shadow. Notice that the only truly black part of the drawing will be the small area in the cast shadow that is closest to the bottom of the egg. Getting this part of the cast shadow nice and dark will really add a strong sense of volume to your drawing. Finishing the drawing. As you wrap up the drawing, use the full range of pencils to refine and add detail. Shading is a slow process where you're going to apply layer upon layer of tone and value. Don't get too dark too fast so that you can minimize how much eraser you need to use. You will likely go over areas many times before you're happy with the drawing.